Live now is royal historian and author of Elizabeth and Philip, Doctor Tessa Dunlop. Tessa, great to see you. I don't really know where to start with this, but perhaps start on that note from Russell Myers. Were we really expecting contrition in this docuseries?
No. In fact, quite the reverse. Harry said it himself that there was an expectation, or rather a hope of an apology, which I think they now realise isn't going to come. And I felt a profound sadness. I watched the full 3 hours this morning. It felt more like a duty than a pleasure, I must confess. These are family members. This is Harry, brother of William. And it's a reminder, really, that what fascinates us all globally, I think, about monarchy, particularly the British monarchy, is the way in which the institution of state, and of course not just in Britain, but so too for you in Australia, that institution of state is woven around a family with a real heartbeat, with their own real issues and their own dysfunction. But the difference is, Laura, between you and me and them, is that when they have a bust up, boy, it is explosive, it's global, and they have platforms that aren't available to anybody else. And Harry and Meghan have detonated and done their worst, really, because arguably, once they were outside the institution, with all those princely expectations, Harry is born a prince. Once a prince, always a prince. He ain't going to become a plumber tomorrow. So he has to fund himself in the same way that he's become accustomed to. And really, there was no other option but to do this. And I think actually on an emotional level, it was very clear he wanted to do this. Sitting on that sofa being interviewed was a genuinely upset, angry man.
Absolutely. Tessa, I think you and I are on the same page when it comes to the uncomfortableness of the vitriol and hate that seems to be day by day, particularly aimed at Meghan. It makes me uncomfortable. It also makes me feel like we're letting down the sisterhood in some way. But in the same breath, I say that when she says some of these things, she's really hard to like. Where do you land with this?
Yeah, but what was interesting, Laura, about today's volume was I felt it was more driven by Harry. This kind of wonderful misogynist idea that he had been led astray by the bad foreign girl. You know, actually, it's really clear that the guy with the axe to grind, the man with real pain, is Harry. Yes, she is sometimes a little too Californian and tricksy, prima donna-ish. It's all about her pain. Look, Chuck, there's a war going on in Ukraine. Like, if you want to talk about pain, we can do pain. So everything is relative. But I felt, in the end, the strength lies with the institution of monarchy. And these guys felt vulnerable to me. Yeah, they've had $100 million or whatever from Netflix, but that is that's yesterday's story. Where is their agency tomorrow? Where is their narrative outside this institution? And I felt the way it was edited. Yeah, he said William got angry at the Sandringham summit. Yes, she said she felt suicidal. Yes, he said Daddy didn't tell the truth at the summit. But actually, I felt that those things were given almost reluctantly. Their real gripe was with the press, the fourth estate in Britain.
I agree with you there. And I don't want to gloss over what was a really difficult time, obviously, for Meghan. I think there was a genuineness to when she said, you know, she felt powerless and therefore felt suicidal. What does that tell you about, you know, someone that's an outsider that enters the royal family? Is there a lack of support? Is it competitive? Is there some truth to the claims that perhaps William and Kate felt threatened by their popularity?
I think without a doubt. I mean, sibling rivalry is very real, and I expect it feels particularly real if you're the spare, as Harry has dubbed himself. I mean, I've spent all year looking into the relationship between Elizabeth and Philip, and he had an absolute hell of a time when he married Elizabeth, even though he was the great-great-grandson, incidentally, of Queen Victoria. He was steeped in blue blood. He also made the mistake of being a little bit too attractive, a little bit too foreign, and in he came and found the suits really difficult to manage. The difference between Philip, the late Duke of Edinburgh, and Meghan is he believed in the mission of monarchy. He was an exiled prince and he just wanted to get around, back around. For Meghan, this was another language, another way of being. You know, posh Brits who are brought up in boarding schools, they're a rule unto themselves. I'm telling you, as a girl who went to a boarding school age 14 from a state school, I was like, whoa, you know, and there is Meghan going into not just a family steeped in that kind of stiff upper lip, crack on with it, put on a front, but also all the households around her are also recruited from the public school institutions. So when people try and liken Kate and Meghan, it's chalk and cheese. Kate went to posh schools. She's used to it. She knows the language, the form. Meghan is like a Californian princess, to use the word in a different context.
Totally. And Tessa, what strikes me as well, the comparisons are made between Meghan and Diana. And I think Harry's even done that himself. He has a deep hatred of the press, absolutely. But what has struck me, and perhaps it's a theory that you will either dismiss or agree with here, is that with Diana, there was a villain that people love to hate in Camilla. Meghan doesn't have a villain like Diana, fairly or unfairly, had a villain in Camilla.
No, but we now live in a different era. We live in the era of identity politics.
Yeah.
So Meghan has other ideas of her own victimhood, her femininity, her race, her nationality. And she also has modern platforms that were not available to Diana. Yes, Diana came from the Spencer family, one of the biggest landed aristocratic families in Britain. But there wasn't a way of mobilizing her cachet, her fame, after she left the institution of monarchy. I mean, look how desperately she wanted to hold on to her HRH title. Harry and Meghan tossed those in the air. Okay, take them. Because they know that available to them are platforms and riches in America that arguably even the House of Monarchy sometimes could dream of, because with that came freedom. But did it? Are you free if you're having to walk the line and overshare about your family?
Yeah.
Ultimately, that bond between Harry and William, you know, that's what this has cost him and William, both of them, for the moment. You know, and the tendency is for monarchy to do that, batten down the hatches. You know, this will go away. I'm hoping they see they've got the broader shoulders, they've got the support of the wider family and Great Britain and the Commonwealth, and they are the ones able to be generous and reach out and invite this pair to the Commonwealth and just walk forward in a magnanimous fashion, because that is what's needed now. We need them all. You know, we are all flawed. We all make mistakes. We need them together in the end.
Absolutely, and I think that's what has, you know, invoked the sympathy, empathy, whatever you want to call it, of the world. We really wanted Harry and William to be this solid partnership after we saw the death of their mother at such a young age, obviously having a pretty awful childhood. I look at Harry and Meghan and I want to believe that this is some kind of beautiful, great love story, because they've isolated them so much. And perhaps this is a link I can draw, and you can plug your book here, Elizabeth and Philip. Is it that?
Yes, but with key differences. Elizabeth had a cracking great crush on Philip, there is no doubt. Philip was hugely invested in the marriage because virtually born in exile, he knew that the indignity of that, if you are special, i.e. you're born royal. Meghan, she didn't have blue blood. She didn't really, I don't think, ever fully understand or want to begin to believe in the institution of monarchy. Why should she? Nearly half of Britain aren't monarchists. You know, we see the great outpouring of grief for the late Queen, and we see the queues to honour her lying in state, etc. That's 55% of Britain. We don't see the other 45% who are much more meh. So maybe Meghan was a bit meh about monarchy. What I think she did find attractive about Harry was they both had pain in their childhoods. They both had a status, a specialness, and also the tinsel, the tiaras. There is something attractive about that. But in the end, the reality of walking the walk, she didn't want to do it. And can you blame her? Did she fall in love with the wrong man? Or can they make their home in Montecito? My issue with it all is, in the end, Harry came across as just a little bit lonely. There was just too many shots of him playing with his dogs. And he did even say, you know, I miss sitting around with my big weird family in the palace. Who wouldn't, for goodness sake?
Exactly. Well, Tessa Dunlop, Dr. Tessa Dunlop, it is an absolute pleasure to have you on AM Agenda. I cannot wait to discuss this in more weird ways and in depth, and hopefully over a couple of glasses of wine at some stage over the next couple of years. See you in London.
Oh, babes, it's late here. I've got one going on already.
Okay. Good to see you. I love that. Dr. Tessa Dunlop, thanks so much.